Dear students, so far we have discussed two chapters in the module 4, the classes and objects, classes and functions. In this video, we will discuss the third chapter, the classes and methods. The first topic is the object-oriented features. Python provides features that support object-oriented programming, which means that it provides features that support object-oriented programming. And you also know Python is both object-oriented and procedural-oriented programming. Now we are discussing how it is supporting the object-oriented programming. It is not so easy to define object-oriented programming, but we have already seen some of its characteristics. Programs are made up of object definitions and function definitions, and most of the computations is expressed in terms of operations on objects. Each object definition corresponds to some object or concept in the real world, and the functions that operate on that object correspond to the way real world objects interact. So we are going to consider the examples which we have discussed in the previous classes, like time we created and time object, or the class time class, and we created the objects and we access the different attributes of the objects, and we have done some computations. We will be using those classes or the user defined types, and we are going to learn how these classes and methods are related. Methods are just like functions with two differences. Methods are defined inside a class definition in order to make the relationship between the class and the method explicit. The syntax for invoking a method is different from the syntax for calling a function. These things we already know in the previous modules. We have discussed many methods on the data structures. We know how to invoke the method and also how to invoke the function. But we are going to discuss few problems with respect to the object-oriented concepts in this chapter. We take the functions from the previous chapter and transform them into a methods. This transformation is purely mechanical. You can do it simply by following a sequence of steps. You are comfortable converting from one form to another. You will be able to choose the best form for the based on the problems which you are going to solve. Now we will consider the one which we have already done in the previous chapter, to print the time. We know how to create a class. We have created a class of time. Since we are not writing any content in it, just pass. We are writing the definition of the printed time outside the class, and this is the format, or this is the statement we are going to write inside that printed time. So you know how to create an object in order to access the class. So we create an object, we assign all the attributes of the time, and we invoking the function printed time. So this is a function which we are invoking using this object time. So just write the name of the function, pass the object as a parameter. If you want to pass multiple parameters to the functions, each object separated with a comma, we can pass any number of objects into the function. This is how we invoke a function. Now what we are doing, the same thing. Instead of making this as a function, we want to make this as an object of the class. So what is the change now? The change is only with respect to the indentation. So since we are writing few contents inside the class, now we don't write this pass. Even if you write the pass, that doesn't make any changes. You can try with this. The main important thing is the indentation. So if I just follow this indentation, now this function was earlier, now it becomes a method inside the class time. So once we make this as a method of the class, how to invoke this method? Now there will be a change in invoking the function and invoking a method. We already know invoking a method, the object name dot the method, right? So we just create an object. This is the normal procedure what we have followed so far. Assign all the attributes of the time. Very important thing is the object dot the method name which we are invoking. This is the way how we call invoke a method. So we can able to do it. We'll just quickly execute this. So this is what the output of executing it as a function. So what we are going to get, the same thing, but we are just make that as a method. No changes in it. Now what we are doing, writing an object dot the method and passing the parameters. So in this case we have only one parameter. What is this t is? The object which we have written before invoking, the object dot operator and then the method. This will be the parameter passing to this object t here as an argument for this t, and then we are printing the hours of that t and the minutes of that and seconds. But if you have two times or two objects, so one of the first object to be mentioned here with the dot operator, invoke the method, and the second object has to be written as a parameter for the function. You can have any number of objects that has to be written as an arguments for the function separated with a comma. But while receiving, it has to be written all those objects separated with a comma, including the first one which we are using to invoke the method. That's what has been discussed here. And the method which we are using to invoke, the object which we are using to invoke as can be written here as in self as well. Either I can write it here t or I can write it here as self. So it works similar. Even if I write t, no issues. Even if I write self, no issues. But normally we use the first one is in self. Sorry. Yes. That is how you can pass the arguments to the methods, or we can invoke the methods using the objects. Yes, we have discussed all these things. We will discuss in another example. Let's convert the increment. We have discussed this in the previous chapter. So we will just do the modification for that increment method. Now we, instead of making that as a function, we make that as a method. What is the change now? For this increment, what we were having two parameters. So the first one is the object which we are creating this time. The second one was the number of seconds to be added for that time. So the time object dot the increment method, and we pass the number of seconds as a parameter. So we are receiving here two things. The first is the self, the time object, the seconds. So this is in the time object, right? So we are using this dot operator to access the attributes of the time self dot seconds, add the seconds, then check all these conditions we have already discussed. I'll need not to discuss all this again. So if any of you have not gone through the previous videos, first check the previous videos and then go through the things. Otherwise it will be tough for you to understand the present video. Okay, and already we have written how to print in the previous. So we just make use of that and we'll execute. This is how it works with. And we will discuss little more complicated example. What is this meaning of little more complicated example in this? So now we are passing two different times. So in the first example we discussed one object, that is of time. The second we discussed two. One is of time and the other one was an integer, what I can say, or seconds, right? Now both we are passing in time. How we are accessing that? So self dot hour, self dot minute, self dot seconds, and that second attribute or the second argument, time 2, the name given, time 2 dot hours, time 2 dot minutes, time 2 dot seconds. That is how we are going to access both of these time objects in the methods. How to invoke all these things, you know, how we are going to create the objects, how we are going to assign the attributes for each of the objects. Now the thing is how we are invoking this. The first object, the done time dot, after was the name of the method, and we are passing the current time as an argument for the method. So based on that we are just printing what is the things. I have just considered one simple example. You can write any simple example as possible for you. It's not mandated that you need to follow the same example while writing an example to explain the concepts. Okay, in this you can just make use of the things. Here what we are doing, comparing each attributes of both the time objects. Based on that, we are making some decision. Here we are consider some example, like we are preparing a bread. So what was the time required in order to prepare that, and what is the current time? So based on that, it's making a decision. If the current time is lesser than the preparation time, then it has been not done. If the current time is greater than the preparation time, the bread has already been baked. That's it. It's very simple example. It's not mandated that you follow all these things. Since we have taken a time time as a object, so we are comparing each attributes of that, comparing hours. Only if the hours is already greater, we'll make a decision and we'll come out of that. If the hours was less, then we check for the minutes. If the minutes were also less, then we check with the seconds. Based on that, we are doing this computations. You can just check it based on the values what we have done given it. The next topic is optional arguments. As we have already seen in the many inbuilt methods, we will be having an optional. For example, the method which works on the string, that is the find method. So it takes 2 parameters or 3 parameters. Based on the requirement, we can use it, the string and the character which we need to search, and also we can write what is the starting point of that searching method should start with. So in that way, we can write the optional parameters in the inbuilt methods. So is it possible? Can we write it for the user defined methods or user defined functions? Of course, yes. So we have an example with a simple thing here. So we have only 2 parameters, the string and the character to be searched. So we are passing that here. So the string we are passing as an apple, the character which we are searching is P. So where it searches here, so it occurs in the first index. That is what the output we already got it. So you can just execute and recheck. Yes. So it just search and gets that index where it finds. All these concepts we have discussed earlier. Quickly we can go through. We initialize the index 0. Check with that index is lesser than the length of the string. So check whether this string first index, whatever the index value, if it is 0 in the beginning, right? Checks is it that character matches. If yes, return that index. If no, then go back, increment that index, keep checking till the length of the string till you find the character in the string. If there is no character, then it returns -1 as a result. So in this function what we have written, we are passing 2 parameters, the string and the character. If I want to write this like an optional parameters, I want to add the next parameter, like let it search from the index 2, because I need to find the next occurrence of P if it is in the string, or there is no such occurrences, whatever. This modifications cannot be done here because the parameters are fixed. But how we can add this option into the user defined? This is how we can write the optional parameter in this method, in this way. Here I've written an argument start, assign the value 0 and initialize that index with the starting point. So in this example, we are passing only 2 parameters, the string and the character to be searched in the string. I am not passing from where to start, but by default I have assigned the starting point as 0. We get the result the same like previous, because the occurrence is in the first index, because it searched with the first character. What if it wants to search for the next occurrences of P? Let it not get the same result every time. Okay, the second occurrence of the P, I'll give the starting point as 2. How it works now? Instead of taking that start with 0 as a default value, it takes the present value what we are giving, that value will be assigned for the start, and it initialize that index with the 2 and it starts searching with the index 2. So we get the result 2 in this case. What if I give it 3? It starts searching from the character or index 3. It initializes the 3 to the index and it starts searching. So 0, 1, 2, 3, L and E. It won't find the character. At that time it returns -1. We get the result -1. This is how we can write optional arguments for the user defined functions, or if you just follow the indentation, write this function inside a class, it becomes a method. So this is how we can write it. With this topic, I'm winding up this session. Thank you for learning.